It was the summer of the one-handed catch.
Oh, yeah! All right!
The two-handed grab.
Oh, man, did you plan that?
And the four-legged terror.
Ooh, a big doggy.
That turned these 9 kids into a team for life. The Sandlot. One field has it all.
Flies open.
Rated PG.
Strike 3, you're out.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, 2 friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Do You Even Movie? I'm your host Henrique Couto here with my good buddy David Denoyer.
Greetings.
And we are here to talk to you about a film that is very near and dear to probably both of our hearts.
Yes.
Although you're kind of a faker because you are not a 90s kid.
I'm not a faker. I mean, I've watched a lot of 90s movies, but I was a tail-end 90s kid.
Okay, whatever helps you sleep at night.
You know.
We're going to be talking about 1993's The Sandlot.
Yes.
A film that would actually convince me to leave the house once or twice.
Yeah, I can see that.
A horrible decision. So, in fact, I think there's still just little specks of paint. I left the house 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Or yesterday. Horrible mistake.
Yeah.
I was painting a shed. I don't recommend I be assigned tasks.
You also chose to do the hottest.
I didn't choose to. It was the only day we could do it.
I mean, that's fair.
It was the hottest day.
Mother Nature chose to be the hottest day for you then.
Well, 8 hours in the direct sunlight working is it's a great way to get confused.
Yeah, I could see that.
So
I mowed my grass for a half hour yesterday and felt. Then I went and swam and I felt better. But
a half an hour.
Half an hour. That's all it takes to mow my grass. You've seen my yard. It's not. That
no,
big.
I meant and you were feeling off. From
Oh no, it was just hot. I wasn't feeling like crap. I was just feeling the heat.
I tell you, you people don't even realize what I put up with.
Oh, they do. This is episode 33 at this point now. Yeah, I didn't think about that, did you?
You're right. Let's end it now. Where's the off button?
Oh, God.
But no, so this is a film that, especially for people of my generation, it was a very massive, influential film. I would say it was on par with The Wonder Years, which was also very influential.
I can see that.
And very similar because it was about an idyllic 1950s, 60s style childhood being told in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it had a big effect on people like me.
Oh, absolutely.
But The Sandlot made me want to go outside and play.
I'm impressed.
It did not go well.
I'd bet not.
What's that supposed to mean?
I mean, nothing. Go ahead.
No, really.
Proceed with the story.
What do you mean by that,
No,
Dave?
Proceed with the story. No, it's fine. Proceed with the story.
No,
it's fine. No, it's fine.
Uh-huh.
No, you hang up first.
No, you hang up. No, basically, I saw The Sandlot, and it made me want a catcher glove, like a baseball glove.
Yeah.
And it made me try to learn to catch a baseball and throw a baseball. I also, later on in my childhood, we lived right next to a baseball diamond.
Oh, nice.
So, until recently they got rid of it. It just got paved over.
Yeah.
I think they might put another one in someday.
I can see that.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Who cares? Those kids, they'll just build their own on Roblox or whatever.
That's very true.
But no, it was very sad me trying to play baseball. I'm not coordinated, and I'm also not competitive, which really doesn't help.
I loved baseball. I played it for, this is like junior league, but I think I played it for at least 4 or 5 years, I want to say. May have been longer, but I never got outside of junior high or high school. I never tried out for a team or anything like that, but I loved playing ball. And I still play baseball to this day, but I'd never been on a full-on professional or, I guess, outside of everybody can play team.
So, what did you play?
I was usually outfield. I was usually either center field or left field, and there were times that I would play shortstop.
I know what two of those are.
Shortstop is between third and second base.
Wow.
Usually bounces between the two, just to make sure coverage and whatnot. I actually could pitch for a little bit too, but I did not. I didn't practice completely to kind of come full circle with it, but I did get taught pitching for about a year or so. So I can somewhat pitch, but not very well.
So you learned to pitch a little bit and then settled into a lifetime of being a catcher.
Yeah, I knew that joke was coming. As soon as I threw that out, I knew that joke was coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I figured you were more athletic than I was, so you probably played baseball and stuff
I got
like that.
bribed. I got I don't want to say bribed because it wasn't necessarily a bribe, but anytime I got a hit or especially a run, I got to go to Hollywood Video. That was my one. That was what I loved. Not what I loved about baseball, but that was one of the things I remember fondly was because I accidentally hit a home run once, and it was just because the team kept throwing the ball past their teammates. So I hit what would have been probably a double, maybe even just a ground first, and they threw past first, so I went off to second, and then they couldn't get the ball to second in time, so I get to third, and my coach is just like telling me to go home. So I hit like a grounder and scored a home run, and I remember the movies that I got to rent that night at Hollywood Video were Die Another Day and Ransom with Mel Gibson.
Ooh.
Because I'd watched Ransom on TV on FX because it had premiered around that time, and I wanted to see that.
And you were like, I want to hear Mr. Gibson say the F word.
A lot.
Yeah.
Ransom is definitely coming to the show.
Oh, Ransom's one that we've bonded over a long time ago.
Yeah.
But no, I like for me, when I was growing up in the rougher part of town, kids did play like, I mean, we didn't grow up in New York, so we were playing like stickball.
Yeah.
But we'd play like T-ball or you know, with the soft plastic balls and stuff. But it wasn't uncommon for it to turn into beatings and stuff. I'm not saying I got beat up. I didn't have beef necessarily. But like some kids would just like start fighting each other, especially if they were really competitive.
Yeah.
Of course, I have everybody beat because my bully may not have attacked me while we were playing wiffle ball. That's what it's called, wiffle ball. But he did drown me in the pool.
Jesus.
So he just pushed me in the deep end when he knew I didn't know how to swim.
Oh, that's a hell of a move. My God.
I mean, I didn't die. And over 4th of July,
not. Otherwise, this friendship's got a lot of explaining to do.
6 to 12 minute barrier, David. I can give him life. But no, I was actually on the 4th of July. I was at a cookout over the weekend, and I was swimming in the pool. And it's funny because I have to like explain to people if I'm playing in the pool, like I can swim now.
Yeah.
I learned how to swim in my 30s.
Yeah.
I'm not the strongest swimmer, but I can like save my own life.
Yeah.
And sometimes like if I get hit with water or I get water in my ears, I have to just take a second and calm down because I drowned twice as a child.
I get that.
So I guess it would be a little bit of trauma response to drowning.
Yeah. I almost drowned once in a public pool and had, I don't know if she's a lifeguard or whatnot, but I had somebody full on save my life from a deep end that I was not supposed to be in.
What a loser.
I don't even know where my mom was, but found her eventually.
Eventually. It's like we go to your mom and ask, and your mom's like, you didn't drown at a pool? And you're like, well, I couldn't find it. She's like, you mean when you got your head stuck in the toilet at Walmart?
No, that never happened.
What I mean, that, you know, you're like, oh, I was 4. Okay, I didn't remember. But no, but beyond that, yeah, there was a little bit of wiffle ball because in the kind of tenement building area that I grew up in, there was a big open field in the back, so kids would knock balls around and stuff like that. I was an indoor kid. I did not have a lot of friends. I was not particularly skilled in anything. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, I can't imagine it's a surprise.
No comment.
I mean, well, the worst part is that all of those things are not great.
Yeah.
But when you combine all of those things with zero competitive nature.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Yeah. Like I remember being in elementary school and I actually got my gym teacher to storm off and he left the class.
I think you've told me the story, but I can't remember why.
Well, I wasn't running for whatever it was. I think we were playing kickball.
Yeah.
And because we played a lot of kickball in school, that was really, really common.
I remember that as well.
And I remembered just losing, getting not tagged out or whatever. And my gym teacher saying, like, come on, you got to like get up there. You got to get out there and do it. And I was like, why? Like, why do I need to win?
Yeah.
And he was like, because then you can say you won.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I was like, I can say it now.
Yeah.
I won. And he just
walked off. I do remember you telling me that story. Yeah.
Yeah. Another student used to stress him out, and he snapped a bowling pin on the ground one time.
Jesus.
Yeah. No, he ended up, I don't want to say that guy was a terrible dude, because he ended up going to the high school, which he was better suited for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he ended up being my cycling teacher like 6 or 7 years later.
Oh, fuck.
And while he was still kind of a prick,
yeah,
I could get along with him better, and he wasn't a bad teacher.
That's good.
Although I do.
Oh, no.
I do remember when we had to fill out at the end of cycling and conditioning, which was the only class I liked in school, gym class, because you rode bicycles 3 days a week, out and about, and you're always late coming back. And the other 2 days you lifted weights.
Yeah.
Very easy, fun.
Yeah.
We had to fill out a, what do you call it? We had to fill out a like review sheet of how our teacher did.
Oh, no.
And people were making jokes when we were filling it out because it was a very relaxed class. And people were asking, I don't want to say the guy's last name because this may be making him sound way worse than I think it is, but he had an odd sounding last name. So people would say, how do you spell that? How do you spell that? How do you spell that? And at one point because people were saying, how do you spell it? How do you spell it? How do you spell it? I was filling out mine and I went, how do you spell incompetent?
Oh, shit.
And no, it gets better. And he snapped back and spelled my own name to me. And then I was like, oh, and then I like fiddled the thing and I went, wait, this sentence doesn't make any sense. Mr. So-and-so is very Henrique at his job.
And how'd that go?
He just kind of went, and then he
walked off.
Whatever. Well, I mean, he didn't leave or anything.
Yeah.
And that class was fun. Yeah. So anyway, but that's my gym and exercise experience. I'm not a competitive person.
I get that.
It takes a lot for me to care.
I get competitive about stupid things.
Correct.
Yeah. No, that's the best way I can put that.
But it makes me sad that you had to hit a baseball in order to rent a movie.
I mean, I could rent a movie regardless, but that was kind of the special thing.
You would just let Family Video die.
We didn't have Family Video at that point.
Oh, I'm talking about as an adult when you had a job and a car, you just weren't renting from Hollywood
rented movies
Video.
all my life. The fact that I bought more from Family Video when the time I got to go to Family Video. Oh God, actually I just realized too, though, when my grandma even took me to Family Video when I was young, I bought tapes.
Yeah, you've never supported their business model.
No, that's not true. When I stayed at her house once, I did rent 3 tapes, and it was Treasure Island, Frankenstein and Me. That was the first time I saw Frankenstein and Me.
All right.
The Burt Reynolds movie.
Yeah.
And I think The Goonies. Yeah, it was The Goonies, Frankenstein and Me, and Treasure Island were the 3 movies I rented from Family Video. So I did rent from them even young, but no, even young, I also did buy The Transporter and Triple X from them.
Great dishonor. But anyway.
Yes.
I grew up with West Coast Video across the very dangerous, busy road.
I remember you telling me that too.
Yeah, and then of course, the little Mexican grocery store which rented tapes, which was even further when I was even younger. And then of course the library and
the funniest thing
like
is
that.
I never rented the Sandlot because it was always on TV.
Yeah, it was always on TV when I was a kid too. Although I mean, it's funny because when we do this show. And yes, Dave chooses way more 90s movies than he probably should.
You chose Sandlot, sir, not me.
I did not.
When I said summer movies, you said, fuck it, we're doing the Sandlot.
I thought you recommended the Sandlot, but I just rubber stamped it.
You wanted to do Sandlot. And I'll tell you why, because we actually have something in this show coming up from a previous show where you said you wanted to do Sandlot, which I'll get to.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting because I don't remember anything. But... But no, it's definitely made me realize the difference in experience I have being that I was 5-6 years old through at the youngest through the 90s.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of that stuff in the periphery, and Sandlot was a constant staple.
I can see that.
But do you think is it time? Should we go get into the deets?
We can absolutely get into the deets. So we are talking about The Sandlot from 1993, 1 hour and 41 minutes, rated PG for some language and kids chewing tobacco.
Well, I never.
Our director of the film is Mickey Evans. He is the writer on 1987's Open House with Adrienne Barbeau, that horror film.
The one where the guy eats the can of dog food?
That would be the one, yes.
That movie's so weird.
So he writes Open House in 1987, Terminal Entry in 87 as well, Radio Flyer, but he's uncredited on.
I loved Radio Flyer.
He's the director on it too, but The Sandlot is one of his first directorials and writers that he actually gets the credit on because, like I said, Radio Flyer he only got the directing credit on.
Only got the directing.
Only. He also was a writer on Ed in 96, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, The Three Musketeers in 2004, Sandlot 2 in 2005.
Never heard of it. Doesn't exist.
Characters, obviously. And The Sandlot Heading Home in 2007.
Doesn't exist.
For his directorial, though, we've got The Sandlot in 93. First Kid in 1996 with Sinbad.
I love First Kid.
Beethoven's Third in 2000.
Okay.
Beethoven's Fourth in 2001.
We're getting mean.
Barely Legal 2003.
I don't think I remember that
National
one.
Lampoon, Barely Legal, I want to say.
I mean, that sounds like that era of when that media group just bought the name National Lampoon and slapped it on everything.
Wilder Days in 03, Sandlot 2 in 2005. So he actually directs the sequel in 2005. Then he does the final season in 2007, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective Jr., which he's also the writer and director on in 2012.
Oh, this is getting dark.
And that's the end of his resume right there.
That's so Ace Ventura Jr.
Yes, I've watched a YouTube video about it, but I have not seen it.
I saw Ace Ventura: Pet Detective Jr. on TV.
Oh,
when it premiered.
Oh,
because it premiered on television.
I remember the premiere. Yes, I didn't watch it.
I was living in Jersey at the time.
Okay,
and
yes,
those were bad. So bad. It was so bad. Like, it made me yearn for Jamie Kennedy as the Mask 2.
Son of the Mask. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So
moving down to our writer, Mickey Evans is also the writer on this. The second writer is Robert Gunter. He starts his career in 93 with Journey to the Center of the Earth, does The Sandlot in 93, gets character credit for The Sandlot 2 in 2005, along with Heading Home in 07, which he also has credit for characters. That's his career for IMDb, at least.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then moving down to our cinematographer, welcome back to the show, Anthony B. Richmond. Now, if this man's name sounds familiar to you, that's because he appeared on Ravenous. This is the cinematographer of Ravenous.
The same cinematographer.
Just to give you a reminder. So in 1970, he's cinematographer on The Beatles' Let It Be, Don't Look Now in 73, The Man Who Fell to Earth in 1976, Indian Rummer 91, Candyman in 1992, The Sandlot in 1993, Tales from the Hood 95, First Kid 96, Playing God 97, Ravenous 99, Cherry Falls 99, Men of Honor 2000,
Wow.
Legally Blonde 2001, Shade 2003, Cinderella Story 2004, Just Friends 2005, Employee of the Month 2006, Miss March 2009, Alvin and the Chipmunks The Squeakquel 2009, Diver Wimpy Kid Dog Days 2012, and most recently The Beatles Get Back remaster that they did for Disney Plus in 2021.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, so kids just, never, always remember when you're watching like Tales from the Hood and you're seeing racist cops beat up a bunch of black people, that guy also filmed You're Killing Me, Smalls. I love diving into the cinematographers because you really have no idea where they're coming from, what job they were coming from, or where they're headed.
Yeah.
It really is fascinating because at the end of the day, a good shooter is a good shooter and they'll shoot any movie.
And a perfect example of that I want to point out, just because we unfortunately recently lost this person. Donald Sutherland, of course, left us, I think, about a couple weeks ago now.
Yeah, it was a few weeks ago.
Don't Look Now from 1973 is a movie that he did that's kind of, it's a horror film, but psychological. The shots, the cinematography in that film are gorgeous. So his work, even that early on, is telling of where his career was going to go. Because that movie takes place in Venice for most part, so you're getting beautiful shots of the city, the water, all that stuff.
Wow, okay.
So cannot recommend that movie enough. Moving down to our IMDb synopsis, it says, in the summer of 1962, a new kid in town is taken under the wing of a young baseball prodigy and his rowdy team, resulting in many adventures.
That one, I mean, that's not a bad synopsis, but it skips over kind of the biggest plot point?
So Scotty Smalls moves to a new neighborhood where he befriends a group of kids who play baseball at the Sandlot. When he accidentally loses his stepdad's prized baseball over the fence to an old man's guard dog, the kids must figure out a plan to get it back.
I mean, that's stupid too. That was yours?
That was mine.
Yeah.
That was my synopsis.
I mean, yours is better. I feel like a split between the two would be perfect. Like, I like in the summer of 62, that tells you a lot about what you're getting.
Yeah.
I like that it says a new kid. I like that, he's taken under the wing of a baseball prodigy, but it should have but instead of resulting in many adventures, it should be like, to create a summer that he would never forget until his stepdad's prized baseball ends up over a fence guarded by a legendarily vicious dog or something.
That is a good call.
My point is, that'll do, Pig.
That's what you picked.
That'll do.
So moving down to our cast, we have Tom Guiry, who plays Scotty Smalls in this. He gets his start in 1993 with A Place to Be Loved, does The Sandlot in 93 as well, Lassie in 1994, The Four Diamonds in 95, Last Home Run in 96, Strike in 98, Ride with the Devil in 99, U-571 in 2000, Tigerland 2000, Black Hawk Down 2001, Law & Order SVU in 2002, Mystic River 2003, Strangers with Candy in 2005.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Steel City in 2006. He had a few more credits after that, but as I said previously a couple episodes ago, I'm going to try to focus more on what they did before and a little bit after and not go over all of it.
I just want to mention, when you mentioned Black Hawk Down in 2001, they do such a good job of making you feel like it's 91 or 92 in Black Hawk Down.
They do.
That it threw me.
Yeah.
When you said Black Hawk Down 01, I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, it would be.
Moving on down, we have Patrick Renna, who plays Hamilton Ham Porter in this. He gets his start in 1992 with Salute Your Shorts, The Sandlot in 93, Son-in-Law in 93, Summertime Switch in 1994, The Big Green in 1995. He appears on Boy Meets World in 96, Home Improvement in 96. Sometimes They Come Back again in 96.
I mean, it's sometimes they come back for more, but I'll take it.
Yeah, that's the third one. I was trying to think of the third title.
That's the third one, baby.
Born Bad in 97, The X-Files in 98, Recess in 98, Speedway Junkie in 99, ER in 99, Poor White Trash in 2000, Recess School's Out 2001, Arliss 2002, Judging Amy 2002, National Lampoon's Dorm Days in 2003.
Yeah, there was a period where he was in all those like Porky's-esque knockoff movies.
And the last credit I have for him is The Closer in 2005. One movie that I would like to recommend for Patrick Renna, I know you weren't the biggest fan of it, but I think anybody who's a horror fan will find some appreciation for it. Fear Inc. from, I want to say it's 2016.
I don't. Oh, yeah, I remember. I remember it. Yeah. I sometimes get that confused with Fear.com.
I could see that. Yeah. And also Fear Clinic. Remember Fear Clinic? Yeah, you remember.
I don't.
So last on our credit list, I'm going to name Denis Leary, who plays Bill in this film. 75 credits on this man's resume, by the way.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And yet no cure for cancer.
No cure for cancer. That is indeed. So he gets his start showbiz-wise, Strictly Business in 1991, goes on to do Loaded Weapon in 93, does his stand-up for No Cure for Cancer in 93, the same year as The Sandlot, Gunman in 93, Demolition Man 93, Judgment Night 93.
Holy shit,
he was very busy in 93.
Yeah.
So then he does The Ref in 1994, which we have to take a second and talk about The Ref, obviously.
One of the finest films, one of the finest like adult Christmas comedies ever made. Incredibly underrated. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that it played a lot on cable because that's what made me aware of it when I was a little bit younger.
Comedy Central for me.
But
on
that one's one that needs a Blu-ray. It needs to be readily available.
I think is it Touchstone, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it's a Touchstone.
Yeah, okay. So might get a Blu-ray, probably not.
Well, I mean, it would be through Sony because Disney did make a deal with Sony to put out all their Blu-rays.
That is true. So then he does The Muppets, She Drives Me Crazy in 1994, which Helen Hunt also appeared in last week.
Hey!
Operation Dumbo Drop 1995, Two If by Sea, which he's a writer on as well in 96, Underworld in 96, The Second Civil War 1997, Suicide Kings 97, The Matchmaker 97, Wag the Dog 97, Small Soldiers in 1998, A Bug's Life in 98, True Crime in 99, Thomas Crown Affair 99, Do Not Disturb, Double Whammy, Dog, then does Ice Age in 2002, the same year he also appears on Crank Yankers, and then 2004 he starts both, I think, writing and directing on Rescue Me.
Okay. Well, I have a very brief, basic Denis Leary story for you.
Yes, please.
Years and years ago, when I was living on the East Coast, I was dating a girl whose mother was a stand-up comedian in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And which was hilarious because when she told me that, I was literally like, did you wear like a suit jacket with the sleeves rolled up? And she looked me dead in the eyes and she was like, yes. And I was like, wow. But she told me a story about how one night she was in, I think it was Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Doing a comedy open mic or whatever. and Denis Leary came in, and he was new. And he came out and he did his thing.
Yeah.
And she said that everybody was just like gobsmacked. Their jaws were just hanging because they'd never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
And the moment she said that, I turned to her and I said, you guys had never seen Bill Hicks before?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, oh, you're mean. You're mean. And I was like, no, I love Denis Leary.
Same.
I don't actually think he stole much from Bill Hicks at all, but I had to share that.
Yeah.
That was one of my
great.
favorite little jokes.
So as of this recording, we are happy to report that once the forces have lined up with us again, The Sandlot is currently available to stream on HULU.
Yes.
So you can find it there, readily available right now. It's also able to rent and buy on Amazon or any other place you get your movies from if you do not have that service. What was your first time, though, watching The Sandlot?
I mean, that would have to have been catching it on either cable or maybe even HBO. In fact, it would probably have been HBO because I definitely saw it around 94 or 95.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have been one I would have rented because I don't remember it having like a big marketing campaign toward me. And obviously I would have been a little too young to go see it in the theater. So, but I remember it being on cable. I remember it being like very much a afternoon movie on cable.
Yeah.
At first on like HBO or Cinemax, and then later on USA, Spike, just lots of different places. And I remember catching pieces of it and it becoming one of the few movies that I would look forward to catching it on cable.
On TV, yeah.
Because I loved the story. I love the ending. The ending is like, it's cozy.
Yeah.
It's like your favorite blanket. Like fresh out of the dryer.
Yeah, it wraps up everything. I mean, it's so good. We'll
Please
get there.
stop using my analogy about the blanket. That's mine.
Too late. Continue.
No, but so I've always loved it. And I remember when I was a little bit older, probably around 16 or 17 years old, buying it on DVD.
Yeah.
And getting to finally sit down and watch it with no distractions, no commercial breaks, no edits for time, no nothing. And every time I've watched this movie, I have the same feeling of just, this is great.
Yeah.
And tonight when we watched it, it has to be 5, maybe 7 or 8 years since I've watched The Sandlot.
Sound about right for me, probably, yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yes.
I enjoyed it so much. We were joking at the beginning of the show about how I painted in the hot sun all day yesterday, but for real, to give some sad insight into my life, Mondays are a swing day. I usually spend it with my girlfriend, and we're working on her workshop right now. So we had to get it painted because we put it off too long.
Yeah.
So we just friggin' hit that. So I melted my brain, got super tired. My whole body aches. I'm still covered in paint because the paint sprayer shot me.
Even your Crocs.
My Crocs look like they have jelly all over them.
They look bitchin', I gotta admit.
But my point is that like doing a job like that's really rough because Tuesdays are the most intense day of the week for me.
Yeah.
Because that's the day I do, unless I'm recorded ahead, I have to do weekly spooky. I'm also kind of starting the week because I always take Monday off or try to. And then you and I get together when we record Do You Even Movie?
Yeah.
And I woke up today and was like, how am I going to do all of this? I've been taking caffeine pills. I've been, just like splashing water on my face all day.
Yeah.
I just barely got Weekly Spooky done before you got here.
Yeah.
And then when we were watching The Sandlot, I started to feel heavy eyes. And then I just woke up because I started laughing at the jokes and having a great time with it. And then I drank an energy drink. But so my point is that like even my mood is really good, even though I'm completely exhausted. I would much rather not be on right now.
I get that.
Especially not on camera when I'm tired. I hate when my eyes are like that, but it put me in such a great mood. It made me so happy. And I even caught something I'd never noticed before, which then you pointed out to me 2 minutes after I mentioned it to you.
We'll just save that for the end of the show.
It was very funny.
It was funny.
So, but no, so that's me. What was the last time you watched it,
So
Dave?
my first time seeing The Sandlot, it had to have been on cable, obviously, because this movie, like you said, like we've said, just played cable incessantly, especially during summertime. They would have it on a lot. It was not until 6 or 7 years ago that I think you and I bought our Blu-rays together at Best Buy when we were out.
Yeah.
And that's when I went home and watched it. I think that was probably the first time I ever saw it uncut.
Yeah. Side note, I vaguely remember it being like a big deal that Nickelodeon showed Sandlot one time.
I could see that.
Like in the late 90s or something. And that it was a big deal. They like kept advertising, like, we're showing the Sandlot one night only or whatever. I could be completely wrong, but it just really sounds right. Because I know it's not a Nickelodeon movie. It has nothing to do with Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
It was a Universal film, and Nickelodeon was always tied to Paramount.
Yep.
But I feel like I remember that.
I
like,
could
that's
honestly
what
see them doing
it was. Because it was such a big deal for kids at that time. But yeah, so go ahead, please.
I always just remember, I just remembered, like you said, the movie's just so comfortable, so I always remembered latching onto it. So when I revisited it 6 or 7 years ago and basically saw it in its entirety for the first time, it just struck me in a way that was just like, this is a perfect summer movie, and I'm going to try to watch it every summer from now on, and this is the first time I've watched it since that time.
That's adorable.
I know. Yeah, I'm a bad movie watcher when it comes to dedication on some things. But no, I mean, actually sitting down to watch it in its entirety, like, I was just very moved by the movie. The ending it just has so many great moments to it. There's nothing but great characters in this film. So it was one of those that I was very happy with as a kid that was mainly into Angels in the Outfield for baseball movies. Because it wasn't until like literally 2 years ago I watched Rookie of the Year for the first time as well.
Oh, that's crazy. Because Rookie of the Year was another one I watched that encouraged me to try to catch a baseball occasionally.
Really my only baseball movie, I think. I mean, if you don't want to count Major League, because that's my dad's favorite movie, so I saw it at a young age. But Angels in the Outfield is probably the baseball movie that had Sandlot attachment for me.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen Angels in the Outfield countless times, and that may or may not be my recommendation in the show. We'll see.
I've seen Angels in the Outfield a handful of times.
Yeah.
But Rookie of the Year was a big one. Also, even though it wasn't for kids, I watched, oh gosh, what's that ridiculous baseball comedy? There's two of them.
Beer League?
No, earlier than that.
Oh.
It's got Charlie Sheen in it.
Well, Major League, that's the one I mentioned.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. You're good, man.
I just did
Major League and the other, I think there's another one. I mean, you could technically count Bull Durham as a baseball movie. I'm not saying what?
Okay.
Bull Durham is a baseball movie.
I didn't say it wasn't.
Okay, well that's the one that comes to mind for adult baseball.
But
movies.
Major League 2 was always on cable when I was a kid, and I thought it was really funny because the humor was even broader than the first one. So, but baseball movies were really big in the mid 90s.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, shit, the kid who stars in this movie, he was in like 3 more baseball movies when we were reading his credits.
Yep. So, are you ready to get into The Sandlot?
Why not?
Okay. So we open with a shot of a man walking through an empty ballpark. He's getting ready for the ball game, and our narrator begins, and we find out that this is the voice of Scotty Smalls, and he's an adult now, and he's talking to us about Babe Ruth calling his shot and how he did that and then ended up driving a 400-foot home run.
Which is probably a lot.
Yeah, which I think is also they got on video too, which is I've seen the clip of it. It's pretty impressive.
Well, I mean, he was considered one of the greatest of all time, especially in his time period. But he was the best.
Then Scott tells us that it wasn't. Excuse me. Then he says that made him a legend, and we get into 30 years later. Benjamin Franklin Rodriguez also became a legend, and he tells us that he saved him, and we see the kids now playing ball at the Sandlot.
Yeah, it's very Wonder Yearsy.
Yes,
because of the grown adult narration.
Yeah.
So although I will say, funny enough, my memory is of the narrator being like way more like right on the microphone and like buttery, like the Wonder Years, but he's really not.
He's not.
It's very casual.
And also the narrator, because he's not credited, is actually the director.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He was not credited in the movie, but that's in the trivia I'll talk about later. But I just want to say that.
Did he play Smalls when he was an adult?
No,
he talks.
Yeah, he's different, but it's a different guy. It's a different voice.
Weird. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting.
So we see young Scotty unloading boxes from a moving truck as he sees Benjamin walking, and he comments that moving makes it hard for friends. And we also hear about Bill, and Bill is Scotty's stepfather, who they've been married for a year, and he calls him Bill and Dad from time to time. But
Benny's been married to his stepfather.
Not Benny. What did I say?
No, you just the sentences were just butted together, so I was able to say that. Yeah,
it's all good.
You didn't misspeak.
You
I
confused
misheard you.
me.
Good.
But no, they've been married for about a year. He both calls him Bill and Dad from time to time, and he catches himself.
He tries to call him Dad.
Yeah.
He keeps calling him Bill.
But we see that Scotty's stepfather, Bill, is also decorating his trophy room, and Scotty goes in and he's like, hey, can we play catch like you said you would? And he's like, yeah, we'll get to it. And he's just pulling out bands and everything, putting them up on the wall. And we also see that he's got a very nice trophy collection of baseball memorabilia.
Yeah, it's clear that he loves baseball.
Yeah. So that is when the next morning we see Scotty is running as he reveals, we see that his mom comes in the room that night and she tells him that, this is a new town. I want you to find friends.
Yeah, I want you to go outside. I don't want you to spend another summer inside with your erector set.
Yes.
Which I assume is a euphemism.
Yes. So the next morning, we also see Scotty is running as he reveals he's followed Ben to the Sandlot because we saw him catch sight of the Sandlot and we saw Benny and he wants to find out what the kids are doing. So he follows him out to the Sandlot and a ball gets hit over his head. The kids notice him, but they don't really say anything to him. But a ball gets hit over Scotty's head and it hits the fence. And that's when we hear a bunch of growling and the fence starts shaking a little bit.
Yeah, and they built it up a lot.
Yeah.
Like they take their sweet time to reveal the dog. I mean, for a kid's movie that moves really fast, they do give it a few times where you're just like, what on earth is that?
Yeah, and what's even better at this point too is the kids are like, hey, throw the ball back. So Scotty then tries to throw it and it just rolls out of his hand onto the ground.
Yeah, he throws it like a solid 3.5 feet away from himself.
Yeah. So the throw isn't good. The kids start laughing at him, but Benny takes notice and Benny's not laughing. Like you can see that Benny is watching this kid and he's not really like poking fun at him. He sees just something. So Scotty states that they were connected from that moment, but they did not even know it yet.
Yeah, it's a sweet story too, because I mean, being the new kid is rough. Shoot, were you ever the new kid? Because you've been in Troy your whole life, I thought.
I've never moved from where I grew up from my parents' house. Like we lived about half a mile away from where they currently live now. But yeah, I never.
So you were never the new kid at all.
Nope, never had that happen. The only time I was a new kid was when I went to college.
Well,
we were all new kids at that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, like same like when you went to high school, you were new, but you were new with an entire class. New.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was the new kid in 3rd grade, and then I was the new kid in 6th grade. Yeah, and then from there, I relatively stayed in the same place.
Yeah.
It is weird to be the new kid. Very hard to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like really hard. And I'm a weirdo, so that it's even harder for me. But I can tell you wholeheartedly, the secret is just be yourself and maybe you just won't make any friends at all.
That's true too.
Worked for me.
Hey, when I was in junior high, I will say that the guidance counselor knew my parents, so I was the person that got to help all the new kids out. I gave the tours of the junior high and whatnot.
And you like gave them wedgies and like shoved their heads in the toilets.
No, I did not.
And like made them pay you for protection.
Yeah, I think I showed 6 or 7 kids the junior high, even though I was new there as well. But
well, I mean. I've had jobs where I was trained to train people right before I trained them. So
yeah, that happens too.
It gets you ready for the adult world.
So the next morning, Scotty goes to Bill asking if they can play catch again, and Bill's like, yeah, we'll do it right as soon as I finish this work. And that's when Scotty's mom comes over and she's like, Bill, can you take a break, and take him out back? So Bill takes Scotty out back, and they're playing catch, or at least trying to. Well, Bill throws one.
I think it's worth mentioning Bill, Denis Leary's character.
Yeah, Denis Leary's character.
He is very clearly like a stereotypical 1960s working man.
Yeah.
He's got his hair perfectly parted. He wears a dress shirt and a tie, and he's working. He mentions that he's swamped with work, and that's why he tries to put off going and throwing the ball. Not because he's necessarily disinterested, but because he has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and it's also worth mentioning that he's not a bad guy. He's very nice to the kid and everything, and still talks to him and doesn't really say anything mean or anything or come off as evil stepdad as some of these movies do.
Yeah, I stand by my theory that I mentioned to you when we were watching it. That I think they cast Denis Leary because Denis Leary is inherently standoffish looking. So that you could kind of get the sense from the kid that maybe his stepdad's not so nice. And then you realize wait, he didn't do anything to be mean. He's actually been relatively nice. And actually one of the hardest parts of this movie for me is that realization. I'll talk about it more when we kind of get there. But because I think that's a really moving moment too, is the kind of, is the kid kind of accepting that his stepdad is actually there for him.
Yeah.
which I really like.
No, it's really good. So Bill goes to play catch with Scotty. He throws the ball to him. It goes over his head, and Scotty goes to get it and brings it back to him. Does not throw it back.
He walks back to him and hands it to him. Because he's so incredibly embarrassed.
Yeah.
From what's happened from him
at the Sandlot.
Yeah, from trying to throw a ball.
Yeah.
And everybody like laughing to the point where they were like laying on the ground.
And you see Bill's like kind of confused. So he tells him, he's like, hey, there's nothing to worry about. Just don't take your eye off the ball. Like, just watch the ball and just catch the ball. So he throws the ball and ends up catching it as he also hits himself right in the eye with it.
Yeah, he whacks him in the face and he gets a black eye.
Gets a black eye. Bill takes him inside, puts some meat on it, and tells him, give it an
steak
hour.
From the refrigerator.
Yes. What? Meat?
I'm just trying to make it clear.
Oh my God. So that's when Benny finds Scotty outside and he invites him to join the guys at the Sandlot, but he says he can't. His glove's busted. And Benny's like, oh, well, no worries. Here, borrow one of mine. So he gives him a glove. And they head on out to the Sandlot, and that's when they head on out to the one of the general stores behind, and that's when they meet the rest of the gang, which is Repeat, Timmy, Squints, Ham, Denis, Bertram, and Benny.
Yes, and remember the reason that Benny invites him is he says they need a ninth.
They need a ninth, yeah, because he wants to cycle people through and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I also think it's because of what happened that time. Whenever they laughed at him, he realized like this kid needs a friend. Yeah. Clearly, he's new.
And Ham is doing a great Bambino impersonation, which is Babe Ruth, and that's when Scotty lies because they're like, who's the Bambino? And he's like, oh, I thought you said the great Bambi.
Like that wussy deer?
Yeah. So he lies to the kids, not knowing who he is, and that's when Benny introduces him to the team, and you can tell the team is not super game having him on the team. They're still making fun of him from his throw and everything, and they're just not being super cool to him.
Yeah.
So that's when Benny hits a ball to Smalls as it goes over by the fence again. So Smalls goes up to it. We hear the growls. Smalls then runs the ball back into the field. So he does not throw it again and just runs it in, making the kids laugh.
And they're all watching him run up going, what is he? No.
Yeah.
He's not. Yeah, he runs up and hands it to the pitcher.
Yeah, so he's leaving the team speechless on this. So Benny runs in to talk to Smalls, telling him he's got to stop thinking about this and he just needs to have fun with it. He just needs to have fun with the game, comparing throwing balls to basically working a paper route. Yeah.
He's like, just throw it like you would a paper. You just throw and let go earlier and it'll go further.
So that's when he sends him out into center field and he says, I'm going to hit the ball right to you. Just have your glove out and you'll catch it. And sure enough, Benny hits one, whacks it right to Smalls. Smalls is praying. He's like, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God.
Please let me catch it. Please let me catch it.
Ends up catching it, and the team is now won over again. So they're cool
they're
with
like,
them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And this is a great moment of storytelling because that also establishes what a prodigy Benny Rodriguez is, that he could place the ball into the glove of the kid from across the field on purpose.
Yeah.
Because he literally throws the ball up and hits it to him. And the kid catches it because he aimed for his hand, which, I mean, I couldn't do that.
I could not.
I couldn't do that throwing it.
I'm a good hitter, but the problem is that all my coaches told me this is that I swing too fast because I anticipate wanting to hit it hard, that I don't take time to actually find the ball. So when I get a hold of it, I can smack the shit out of it.
It's almost like the way you are in a lot of like conversational anxiety.
Yeah, it's weird, huh?
I'm not even picking on you. I mean, like we've been friends long enough. I can tell you, like sometimes I think you get anxious and you like say things before you're ready.
Yeah.
Huh. Maybe you should have stayed in baseball.
Well, I didn't leave it by choice.
Oh, they pulled you out kicking and screaming while the crowd was cheering. Nah, 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 nah.
If I remember correctly, I think it came down to either track or baseball because they're both spring sports. So I had to choose.
You wanted to do track?
I chose track.
Why?
I don't know. Because I know exactly why.
Oh yeah.
Because I had a former player on my team at my school who I played like the little league with, and he told me that I should not try out. So I listened to him.
What?
Yeah.
Some kid just like stomped on your dreams?
Basically, I wish I could remember who it was. I just remember that
Me too, because I want him to host this show with me instead.
But no, I just remember like I was talking to him. Oh, no, I totally just remember who it is. And I still know this kid too.
All right. Full name and social security number.
We'll just call him D.
Okay.
Yeah. So D told me that D was actually at the time a friend of mine. So he may have been thinking he was trying to help me, but in hindsight, he told me that it wasn't going to be worthwhile for me to try out because I did not have skills like I thought I did. Basically.
Damn.
Yeah, he dropped an anvil on me, so I was like, well, I'll just go run like an idiot then.
I mean, for the record, you would do anything like an idiot.
I guess I'll just go run then.
Yeah.
So
I'm just glad that somebody shattered your dreams.
Many times.
Oh boy. Okay, new show.
So
we're just talking about that now.
Smalls and Benny are walking back home, and Smalls trying to give him the glove back, and Benny's like, no, go ahead and keep it. And also gives him his extra ball cap because we forgot to mention that Smalls has this ginormous ball cap.
Yeah, the bill is like
Huge.
probably 1.5 lengths compared to a normal baseball bill.
Yeah.
So it sticks out really, really far, and it's got just this random fish on it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, I always like that touch because when I was a kid, I had a lot of hand-me-downs and a lot of kind of random stuff. Like my mother's best friend growing up, she had a son who was 3 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get all of his hand-me-downs, and they were from money.
Yeah.
Or not from money, but they had money.
Had money, yeah.
So I used to, if I was bored on a weekend when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old or whatever, I would go into my own closet, and I never knew what I'd find in there.
Shit.
Like I could go in there and come out and be like, I'm going to wear a suit today because I have a suit apparently.
There you go.
And that's what it made me think of was like when you just find a hat and it's like, where'd this hat come from? I don't know. Can I wear it? Sure. You know, that's how I imagine. He was like, I need a hat when I'm outside. The mom was just like, here you go.
Well, and also,
look how handsome.
He's dressed in like his Sunday best almost.
Oh, he's wearing a button-up shirt.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like they look kind of like khaki.
They look kind of khaki.
I guess in the 60s, they'd be called slacks.
Yes. So he's dressed in slacks, and he's like, and hey, I'll wear some like jeans and a t-shirt tomorrow, and also burn that hat. That's my favorite.
Oh no,
line.
yes, no. He's like, do you have a fireplace? He's like, yeah, why? And he's like, put that hat in it,
which is even better because at the end he's wearing it.
Oh yeah, he wears it as the adult at the end. I love that touch too.
So the next day we see the kids playing again as Ham is trying to get a hit off Kenny, which he ends up knocking it over the fence, and this ends the game because now they've lost the ball. Smalls, not realizing, is like, oh, well, I'll go get it. So he goes over to the fence to get the ball, and he starts climbing, and the kids seeing this rush from halfway across the field running to him screaming no.
And I think it's worth mentioning that when his mother was talking about like go out, make friends and stuff, she says like climb some fences, get into trouble.
Not too much. But some.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And she's like, how many mothers would say that to their son?
Yeah.
And all I'm thinking is like any mother with an indoor kid would say that. But yeah.
Smalls is pulled off the fence, and that's when they tell him that ball is history, causing Smalls to ask why, and the kids tell him all in unison, the beast. So Benny tells Smalls that to go to the fence and peek through the hole. So Smalls goes through and he sees the ball just right there, and then suddenly a giant paw steps on it, and they all run back screaming. And that's when he's like, what are we going to do tonight? And they're like, well, we'll have a camp out. So it turns out they have a treehouse right next to the Sandlot. So we are now in their treehouse, and Smalls arrives, and that's when he runs into Ham, and Ham's like, hey, do you want a s'more? And he's like, well, I didn't have dinner, so how can I have more? And he's like, no, do you want a s'more?
And let me tell you something though. As a city kid who didn't have a lot of friends, this is where I learned what a s'more was.
I can see that.
Was in the Sandlot.
Yeah.
Like I saw the Sandlot, and then I told Mom I wanted to make s'mores, and she was like, well, we don't have a fire.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up making me a s'more in the microwave.
Yes, I've done that too.
Which, you're pathetic. No, no, I mean, making a s'more in the microwave is fine.
You gotta be careful with the marshmallows, but yeah.
Well, yes, because they expand.
Yes.
They get bigger. No, I ended up later on making s'mores just with a lighter.
Oh yeah,
because you could roast one marshmallow.
I have done that. I have done it with a lighter. I've never done it over candle though. I want to try it with candle now.
Do you want me to get the tent out? We'll just camp out in my backyard tonight. I'll tell you some ghost stories.
So we are also treated to the story of the beast, and that's when the kids explain it all started at Myrtle's Acres, telling a story about how a man, Myrtle, who had a junkyard, was getting tired of thieves coming in and stealing his stuff. So he got a pup, fed it a bunch of meat until he became what is known as the beast.
Well, they fed him a side of beef. Which is literally half of a cow.
Yes.
Think Fred Flintstone's car tipping over.
Yep.
They show him putting that giant rack,
bone.
And the way they show the dog, aside from when it's a puppy, because they show it like kind of being normal size going into the thing, they film it like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
like this gargantuan
it's like a
beast
50s monster
creature.
movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the paws are giant and they slam everywhere.
Because that's the one thing is while we're getting treated to this story, we're also getting a black and white flashback that's basically like a 50s monster movie.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Funny.
There's crooks trying to breaking into the junkyard.
Yeah.
And the dog is like attacking them. Their bodies are flying up in the air.
Through the air.
Yeah, and it's like they never found them. And one of my favorite parts is he says 173
guys
or 73
went
guys
missing. So police ordered then that the beast was to be retired and also his backyard was to be turned into a fortress, putting the beast onto a chain and putting a fence up in the backyard where he's been for the last 20 years, even though the cops said that he has to keep him locked up forever.
And this is one of those moments that if you're a big fan of the Sandlot, forever is a big thing because the cop in the video is clearly saying forever.
Yeah.
But he's
mouthing
it really, really heavily.
Doing like drunk
history
silence. Style, yeah.
And then the kid is saying forever. So it's a little kid's voice coming out of this adult cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what he's saying. Like, how long do I have to keep the monster locked up? Forever.
So they end up telling Smalls that that's why he can't go back over there and the ball is completely gone. Smalls thinks they're just trying to scare him till the kids tell him to look out over the yard, and once again he catches sight of the beast and they all scream as he comes back in.
Yeah, and I love that they camp. Their treehouse is literally overlooking this giant, deadly monster to them. That's such a kid kind of thing to happen.
It's cute. So the next morning, we see Squints and Yeah buying a new baseball when he notices Wendy Peppercorn, who is played by Mary Shelton, who people may know as she is Officer Judy from the Scream films recently, but she was also in Grindhouse as Dr. Block.
Yes, yeah.
And so he catches sight of her, and he is won over by her. So they eventually meet up with Benny and the crew, but it's too hot to play baseball today. They say it's 150 degrees out, so they can't play. And that's when Benny's like, "What do you guys want to go do?" And they all decide that they are going to go to the pool.
They're going to the pool.
So we see Ham trying to show off in front of the ladies as we get another voiceover from Scotty, who's basically saying that was the place they went to look at the pool ladies.
The pool, yeah. I love how Ham's walking around, ladies,
just
ladies.
posing, dude.
Yeah, and flexing his
arms,
his no pube having self. It's such a great.
Well, it's great
moment.
because he does that, and then he immediately goes and does a cannonball, blasting them all with water.
Oh yeah.
They're pissed.
Well, and it's funny because my mother recently, so years and years later, would tell me stories about. She grew up in Farmersville, Ohio.
Yeah,
it's literally called Farmersville, Ohio, and it borders Germantown, Ohio, and they had a municipal swimming pool.
Yeah.
That my mother said was like where you lived in the summer if you were a kid.
I could see that.
Because I think it was free. But mom would said that like her favorite thing is like that's where you would go during the summer to like meet, boys or girls, where you would go to hang out with your friends. And she would talk about how she would like save up all of her coins so she could buy one frozen candy bar.
Oh,
because they would have a cooler, an ice chest full of Snickers bars, frozen rock hard. And that was their favorite snack at the pool. So you'd eat frozen Snickers bars and dive into the pool and then get in trouble and get banned from the pool for smoking in the bathrooms or whatever.
Also true, yes.
Not that my mother did. My mother's a saint.
So that's when he splashes the girls, and we also get a small narration stating that they all went there though because of Wendy Peppercorn was the lifeguard.
Yeah.
So Squints deciding that he is going to shoot his shot in one of the most creative ways possible, goes up to the diving board, going over to the deep end as Ham comments that he can't swim well. So they don't know what he's doing.
Oh, they say he can't swim at all.
Can't swim at all. Yeah. So he goes off the deep end, waving to Wendy and then jumping in, causing the guys to immediately have a frenzy.
Here's the fun thing about the English language, David.
Yes.
So he goes off the deep end and goes off the deep end into...
Did I say that?
No, I'm saying that's the fun part about English.
Oh, yeah.
He goes off the deep end and goes off the deep end.
Yes.
One is figurative and one is literal.
This is true.
But yeah, so he holds his glasses in one hand and just sinks straight to the bottom as the friends are all trying to run to him, freaking out.
Yeah.
The lifeguard catches wind of what's going on.
Yep.
She does her thing, jumps into action, dives right into the pool, gets down there, lifts him up out of there. You could take it from here.
So she pulls him to the side, and that's when she starts giving him mouth-to-mouth, checking his heart as well. And she goes about 3 times, and then suddenly...
they build up the tension like he might really be hurt.
He might really be hurt and everything. So suddenly Squints pops over to the guys just real subtly and just winks at them. And then when Wendy goes back for the final mouth-to-mouth, he grabs her head, kisses her, and she goes, "You little perv," and then hoists him up and carries him out to the front of the pool, throws him out of the pool, and tells them, "Do not come back."
Yeah,
and stay out.
And the voiceover reveals they were all banned for life.
Banned for life from the pool. So he steals his kiss from Wendy, and they're walking out, and that's when Squint tells Ham that he was planning on that for years, because Ham's like, was that your idea? And he's like, oh yeah, I've been planning that for years.
At that moment, Squint was the man.
So Squint watches then, as he watches Wendy through the fence as they're leaving the pool. She takes off her glasses, gives him a smile, and kind of winks and waves at him, and that's when we hear the thing about them being banned for life. So even though she did that, she's mad, but she also finds it a little cute.
Well, she's got to be 14 to 16.
Yeah.
And he's got to be 11 or 12.
Yeah.
So he's a bit out. He's playing a bit out of his depth.
He is. Yes.
I don't know.
So next we see it's the 4th of July, and we see all the kids are coming out into the neighborhood, which is decked out with tables. They've got food. They've got sparklers going.
It's a block party.
Yeah, it's a full-on block party, and they're getting ready to head out for their night game, because one time a year they would do a night game because the fireworks would light up the sky so much that they could play.
And there's a really wonderful poetic thing about that too, where they mentioned like that the way they knew Benny was going to be
Serious
the most incredible
and
player
big, yeah.
was that they would all be looking at the fireworks and he'd be the one who would remind them to come back to the game. And they show that. It's this really beautiful sequence where they're hitting the ball, fireworks are going off all over, the lights flashing across them as they're running bases.
It's really cool.
It's a like, I don't know if there could be a more innocent portrayal of just America as fuck.
Yeah.
Because it's literally young kids playing baseball, 4th of July, fireworks lighting their way.
It's pretty great.
It's a wonderful visual. It really is. And it harkens back. And I'm not a big believer in nostalgia.
Yeah.
I do believe that in a way it harkens back to an age that never existed at all.
I get that.
But it's a beautiful moment.
It absolutely is. So then the next day, we see the uniformed Little League kids ride up as there is a standoff now, and these kids exchange words. But I didn't write down all of them, but my God.
What I love about this scene is these kids in their uniforms, there's like 4 of them, I think. They ride up on their bikes, and Ham just hates them so much. I mean, his face just turns to a full scowl.
Everybody steps up. Ham goes ham on them.
See?
Yes.
See, English is fun,
It
David.
is fun. So he goes ham on them, and the one thing that gets them to set up to where they're actually going to play a game to face each other is Ham says they play baseball like a girl.
And they were calling each other stuff like fart sniffer.
Oh God. I mean, there's so many.
It's a wonderful example of like kids saying as many mean things as possible without a single swear word.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie, the kids say shit here and there.
Damn and hell, I think are like the 3 that I heard.
Yeah, probably. I feel like shit would be the biggest one because this is the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, the show, it takes place in the 60s, but this is the 90s. So shit's the one that like would have to have been bleeped for sure. Hell and damn, probably not.
That's like rewatching the Goonies. I forgot how many shits are in that movie from the kids.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Well, they're young digestive systems. But no. I just noticed that I think they maybe said shit maybe 5 times.
Yeah, it was 3
6
or 5 times. Yeah.
And it's that's smart too because it has like a punctuation. They yell shit like when the dog's about to get them.
Yeah.
They don't yell shit when they drop their ice cream.
No.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's clever.
So this causes the challenge to be thrown down tomorrow as they're going to meet on the diamond. They're going to meet on the Little League's diamond and play a game. So the next day we watch Ham is the catcher and he is antagonizing the Little League team from the batter's box, just causing them all to strike out, like saying things like, hey, your sister's out there naked was one of them I heard.
Yeah, your sister's out there naked on left field.
Your fly's down. And a bunch of other things. So that's the one that I always forget about the scene because like any other movie, you would expect them to get their ass kicked.
They whoop them.
Yeah.
But I think that was the point there was to show that they were a really great team.
Yeah, because that's what even the other team says is that you guys are only good because Benny's on your team.
Yeah.
And then it turns out they just run these kids down. well,
but that's something I love is the concept that it's like Benny's a great player, But the rest of us will just like trash talk and mildly cheat.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a skosh.
So Ham gets up, he hits a ball and bats it over the fence. The other kids also are just getting hits left and right, and they end up winning the game because Benny hits a homer, ending the game, which pisses the other team off because he's just kind of rounding the bases, and you can tell that they did not expect this to happen. So Benny decides to take the guys out and celebrate at the local carnival for his treat.
And I should mention something.
Yeah.
They never say why Benny is not on the Little League team.
Yeah, they don't.
Well, because this movie takes place during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
They reference that he moved to town 2 weeks before school let out.
Yeah.
So he never attended school at that point.
Yeah.
So he's meeting these kids just over summer vacation, which that alone is a very kid time.
Absolutely.
But I will say, take it from a guy named Henrique.
Mm-hmm.
Benny might not have been allowed on the team.
Benny Franklin Rodriguez. Yeah.
Benny might not have been allowed on the team, and that might be why they had such... Well, because here's the thing, too. Here's why that's my theory.
Mm-hmm.
Benny is cool. He's a cool customer.
Yeah.
You know, he keeps it chill. He's passionate, but he's also smart.
Yeah.
Imagine being in Ham's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Benny's like your best friend in the world. If these kids or the kid or the kid's dad, coach, whatever, was like, Benny, we don't really want a kid like you on our team.
Yeah.
I feel like his friends would be madder than he would be.
Absolutely.
But maybe they didn't want to spell that out black and white because the movie's really not about that kind of thing. It's about friendship.
Yeah.
It's not about fighting adversity necessarily.
Yeah.
But I got a big whiff of that.
I can see that.
And also, like, the kids came in and they had like nicer bicycles than they did. They had their really clean uniforms.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like, if you want to know what the kind of kids the Sandlot kids were, they were struggling to come up with enough money to buy a new baseball. 98
cents.
Yeah, they'd have to come up with 98 cents to buy a new ball.
Yeah.
So I do think that there might have been a little...
It's very possible.
Something. Well, and you also have to put it into context. I'm not sure when the Negro League ended.
Yeah.
But most Hispanics played in the Negro League as well. And now I have to know. I have to know right now, David.
Okay.
I'm looking it up. You suck.
Well, fine.
No, but I really think that that's something that I feel like may have been subtext.
So while you are looking that up, at the carnival, this is when Bertram brings out a surprise for the guys as he unveils Big Chief chewing tobacco.
Oh, God, this scene is so gross.
The brand chewed by Babe Ruth himself. So the kids all decide to take a big wad of it, and then they decide to also get on a ride that is a scrambler, which goes around and around, and the kids are having a great time. We see the thing going around. We see it going to the side, and then suddenly... all of them start to get nauseous. We see some of them spit the tobacco out, and then we also see a bunch of puke just start going all over the floor of the ride. It
is so gross.
Not as gross as Problem Child 2, but still pretty gross.
No, but it's up there. Negro League had its last like very serious official season in 1951. So
51, okay.
11 years earlier.
Yeah.
I maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it's because of my own heritage and my own experiences. But part of me thinks that Benny wasn't allowed on the team and that his friends took that personally, which I think they would.
Yeah,
because they were such good friends.
I could absolutely see that. So the next morning, we see Bill is leaving for Chicago, and he tells Scotty that he's the man of the house while he's gone, and that when he gets back, they'll try catch again. So again, we see another glimpse of Bill being like, hey, when I get back, we're going to try catch again.
He brought it up.
Yeah.
He brought it up.
Yeah. And so they took a couple days off after the tobacco incident, but they're back at the Sandlot now, as we hear Smalls say that he got them in the biggest pickle of all time, which started with an omen.
Well, how many times does he say we got into the biggest pickle? Was it 3?
Like at least 3.
I think it was 3.
Yeah. So we see Kenny wind a pitch. Benny slugs it, knocking and hitting the knitting right off the ball.
Yeah, the ball comes unraveled.
Yeah.
And Smalls catches the bundle of stuff that's inside of a baseball.
So the guys are amazed at this, but Benny's upset now because it's only noon and he's ruined the day because they've lost another ball. So that's when Smalls tells them that he has a ball, and they send him off to go get it, and that's when we see him return home to Bill's trophy room where he grabs Babe Ruth's signed baseball.
And we are very well aware that this young man does not understand who Babe Ruth is.
He does not. So the kids resume playing as Smalls hits it hard and sends it right over the fence. causing Smalls to freak out. As the team questions what's wrong, he stares back at the fence still. The growling echoes as Small tells them that he's got to get the ball back. And they're like, well, no, man, it's like it's lost now. Like, don't worry about it.
And again, you want to talk about like how they're such a great group of friends.
Yeah.
When he freaks out, he's like, that's my stepdad ball. He's going to be so mad. They're like, tomorrow we'll just get you another ball and you can just swap it out. He'll never know.
Yeah.
And that's what he says. No, because it was a gift.
It was from his trophy room.
Yeah, and it was a gift because he thinks it was a gift from some woman.
Yeah.
She signed it.
Revealing it was signed by some lady, Baby Ruth.
And they all go, Babe Ruth!
They freak out. They're running at the fence, catching sight of the ball till Beast Paul scoops it up, and the guys now give him crap for playing with the ball, causing Smalls to ask, what's the big deal? Who's Babe Ruth? Revealing now that he did not know who that was.
Yeah, he doesn't. And when they say, the great Bambino, he's like, that's the same guy?
Yeah.
It's so good. It's such a great moment.
So that's when the gang devises a plan to get bottles and get 98 cents, and they're going to go buy a new ball, which they're going to fake autograph and place back into the holder, which he does as his mom catches him.
Just the most child thing.
Yeah.
Benny with a blue pen.
Yep.
Just a blue ballpoint pen. Just writes Babe Ruth on the ball. And they replace it.
So his mom catches Smalls, and she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I was just looking. And she's like, yeah, he ever tell you about that ball? He actually got it from Babe Ruth himself.
Well, it wasn't his father got it
his
from
father
Babe Ruth.
got it,
and
yeah.
then his father left it to him, and she's like, and maybe one day he'll leave it to you.
Leave it to you.
And it's just like twisting the knife. She's like, that ball isn't just one of the most valuable pieces of sports memorabilia of all time. It has limitless sentimental value, too.
Yes. So Smalls they're back at the Sandlot the next day, and that's when they ask, why don't they just go ask Mr. Myrtle to get the ball back? And that's when the gang tells them, no, he's mean, he's old, he won't go for that. So good. So that's when we see the kids try to devise a plan using a broom handle at first. They try and get the ball until Beast steps up, breaks the handle, and it completely comes back shattered. Next, they rig up a piece of metal, or they pick up a piece of vector with a pot taped to it on the end. They try and scoop it up, but Beast Paw hits it again, causing the kids to scream, and the vector is thrown back, bent to shit.
I love that the Beast throws things back when he's done with them, though. That's so good. I love that so much.
So now the kids are back in the treehouse, and this time they've got a new plan. They've got 3 vacuums in the treehouse, and they're trying to use the suction of all 3 vacuums through one hose to get the ball and suck it up.
These scenes, by the way, are the peak of this film.
Yes.
The creativity, the cleverness, the ingenuity through the mind of a child is really fun, it really captured my imagination when I was a child watching it. And we glossed over because there's so much to get through.
Yeah.
We glossed over that early on, like right at the beginning. Smalls is building a Rube Goldberg machine out of Kinects and stuff like that. So he has a lot of knowledge of building things and making machines that accomplish things. For those who don't know what a Rube Goldberg machine is, it's just a machine that does a task, but overly
Very complicated.
Like a ball has to fall 15 times in order to get to the other side of the room.
Yeah.
It's humor. Like the game Mousetrap is a Rube Goldberg machine.
Oh, yeah.
So
many hours spent on that game.
I once bought that game with a girl I was dating when I was like 18 or 19, and we started looking through the rules, and then we were like, fuck this. We just assembled it.
Yeah.
Watched it do it like 8 times, and then we put it away.
Yep, that's basically it.
That's my life.
So we see them get the ball into the vacuum, and that's when Beast gets a hold of it, bending the pipe to where it completely clamps the pipe shut.
Pinches it,
Pinches it, clogging the vacuums as all the kids abandon all 3 vacuums, jumping out of the treehouse, literally jumping out of the treehouse.
Yeah, they're flipping off of it, falling backwards off of it.
Yeah.
And then it friggin' explodes.
Yes.
And while it's not like the treehouse isn't demolished, it is a little fireball, that like comes out of the windows.
Yes, and then one of the kids comes down and he's like, what do you say? I blame myself.
We've been going about this all wrong.
Yeah.
I blame myself.
I blame myself.
And he shakes all that dust off of himself. It's so funny.
So that's when they decide to do one final plan of action, and it's the last chance they're going to use every piece of Rector set that he had. As we see, they've built a giant track now, and they're taking a cart down it that has a catapult on it into the yard to scoop it up and throw it out, which they successfully do. Except
as the ball is flying through the sky, the Beast flies up, and I love it. It's like a horror movie.
Yeah.
He comes up, and he's got this giant open mouth, and he goes, beep, 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 and he just catches
goes,
it. He doesn't even catch it with his jaws. It just goes into his open mouth, and they're all like, ah!
Yeah.
And then it attacks the machine, throws it up in the air.
Throws it back out, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So the Rector pieces are thrown back over and bent again. So now a defeated Smalls goes home that night, and he has a dream that he tells us about, but we also get to see Benny, who has a dream.
He has a dream.
He has a
not
dream
as famous
indeed.
as the other famous dream.
No, not as famous as that dream. But we watch as Benny is in his room and his closet opens as Babe Ruth, played by the late great Art LaFleur, comes in, and Benny is shocked. So Babe Ruth tells him to just hop on over the fence and get the ball. Like, there's nothing to worry about. Like, I heard that's the problem. That's all you got to do. And Benny tells Babe that the beast is what's over there. He can't beat the beast. So he sits him down on his bed and he tells him that everyone gets a chance to do something great, but some people don't recognize their chance. And this is the time to listen to that and take this chance. So Benny questions him again, and Babe tells him to think about it. There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get to be remembered, but legends never die. And
I love how the way they introduce Babe Ruth is he walks in and he just himself is grainy like an old film strip because that's the only way Benny would have ever seen Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
And then he kind of, materializes into reality, and then he becomes black and white and grainy as he goes and disappears through the closet. Also, God love him, smoking a stogie the whole time.
And one of my favorite gags in this moment is he picks up a rookie Aaron Rodgers card, and he's like, I don't know why, but can I have this? Aaron Rodgers turned out to be the guy that broke his record.
Yeah. I remember that being hilarious. He's like, I don't know why, but I want to keep this.
Can I have this? So that's when Benny wakes up, and the next morning, Benny assembles the group, putting on his PF Flyers, and he approaches the fence.
Now, I will say, the PF Flyers thing, I loved that as a kid, even though I'd never heard of PF Flyers.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And they hadn't established the PF Flyers earlier in the movie.
No.
But it had a great almost Christmas story moment where the narrator says PF Flyers, the only shoes guaranteed to make any kid run faster and jump higher.
Yeah.
And Benny, it's like that's Benny, he's busting out the big guns. He's busting out the finest shoes he has.
Yes.
And I love this scene because as he's going, I'm just gonna jump up there, I'm gonna grab the ball, I'm gonna run out. And Smalls is like, you don't have to do it. Like, it's my fault the ball's over there. I'll just get punished for it. And Benny's just like, I have to do this. Yeah, and I love that because, again, friendship is the key element to all of this.
Absolutely.
And Benny is like, I'm not going to let my friend get in trouble. Like, we're in this together. Like, we all succeed or we all fail.
Yeah.
And that makes my heart, pump.
So we are getting to Benny goes over the fence. And he's cautiously watching for the beast chain, and because he sees the beast doghouse, and the beast emerges from its doghouse with the ball in its mouth.
But then it drops it and rolls it toward him, challenging him to go for it.
So Benny takes a step as the beast barks at him before he races at the ball, sliding it, grabbing it, and running to hop the fence as the guys cheer. Suddenly, though, Beast also hops the fence.
Yeah, at first it seems like it was just that simple. Benny's lightning quick.
Yeah.
He runs it, he grabs it, he jumps back over the fence, he lands, they're like, wow. But then, and again, this is why the film is so memorable and so beloved. It's not just that Beast jumps over, it's that it jumps over in slow motion as Wipeout starts playing.
Yep.
Wipeout. And now we have one of the greatest chase scenes in the history of movies as Beast chases Benny Rodriguez through the entire town.
And I mean, not just like the city streets and whatnot. He's going through alleys. He's going through a Founders Day festival. One of my favorite gags is it goes into an auditorium
where they're screening Wolfman.
Yes. And so he slides under the screen and goes out through the aisleway as Beast rushes through the screen as the Wolfman appears on screen.
I mean, they go past the swim. They go through the swimming pool.
Yeah, they go through the pool.
They go through every part of the town.
Yeah.
And his friends are chasing along trying to save Benny. There was a funny moment when we were watching it today where as it was happening, I was like, man, this, I turned to you, I was like, this is really cute, but that dog could kill him.
That kid, yeah.
Like, that is a giant
It's an English Mastiff,
Yeah. Now, and at this point, though, the dog is now real.
Yeah.
It's no longer a puppet.
No.
It's no longer an animatronic or a special
huge.
effect.
I mean, it's huge for a Mastiff.
It's a very big dog, but
Yeah.
it's not a monster anymore.
Yeah.
But it is chasing Benny. And it does not want to let Benny win this battle. Also, we should mention that it snapped the chain around his neck off in order to jump the fence because it was chained down and in a big fence.
Yes, so it took a running start to break that chain. So we get to the Founders Day Festival. Benny runs with the Beast still in pursuit behind him. He's jumping a table where these guys are carrying a cake. The Beast also misses the cake, but then they set it on this table, and that's when it launches the cake into the air, coming down on them.
Yeah, a giant, like, massive, like, wedding-style cake just falls on these two chefs.
So that's when the kids decide they're going to take the shortcut back and head to the Sandlot and hopefully meet Benny there. So they arrive, finding no Benny, until Benny suddenly rounds the corner with Beast still in pursuit around him, and that's when Beast actually gets a bite on Benny, but Benny still keeps running.
He bites literally his outer shirt.
His outer shirt, yes, and that's when Benny launches himself back over the fence as Beast now plows through the fence, knocking the entire fence to the ground.
Which causes the fence to fall onto
Beast, yes.
And at that point, when the fence falls, you hear like a little, oh.
Yeah, Beast is hurt.
And it's at that moment that I love, because as they're all calming down and breathing, Smalls is the one who notices the dog's hurt because it's stuck under the fence. So he goes over and tries to lift it up, and he can't.
Yeah.
And he's like, guys, help me. He's hurt. And Benny's the one who, after he catches his breath, he's like, I'll help. And he lifts it up, and as he lifts it up, Beast finally gets up. It doesn't look so pathetic, and Beast is just like looking at them, stares down Smalls. What a great moment.
It's so good.
And we get that side shot, that profile shot of both of their heads.
Yeah.
So you can see that the dog's head is as big as Smalls.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just starts slurping the kid's face. He gives him love.
It's so cute.
It's so good. This is such a perfect kids movie.
So then Beast, being grateful for them getting the fence off him, leads the kids to his stash of balls. And when I say it's a stash of balls, he's got a pit just full of them.
Full of baseballs.
To where the kids are
Probably
like, we
30,
can play
40,
baseball
50.
forever now.
Yeah.
So that's when they decide that they got to go take Beast back home. So they go up to Mr. Myrtle's back door and they knock on it. Mr. Myrtle emerges asking hello, and that's when we see, played by the great James Earl Jones, Mr. Myrtle is blind.
Yes, he's blind, and as you mentioned, I feel it's worth saying again, played by James Earl Jones.
Darth Vader himself.
An incredible actor.
So that's when he goes, yeah, can I help you? And they're like, well, we just want to bring your dog back. He's like, oh, did he get out? And they're like, yeah, we were trying to get our ball back. He's like, oh, you guys are making all the noise. That's the reason why.
Yo, were you the ones making all that racket?
So that's when he gets the ball from the kids and he tells them to come inside so they can talk about this ball a little bit more. And that's when it's revealed that Mr. Myrtle actually played with Babe Ruth.
But you forgot the best part.
Oh, what's that? Oh, so like
when they said we're making all that racket, he's like, well, we knocked our baseball into your backyard and it's my friend's stepdad's and we need it back. He was like, why didn't you knock on my front door? I would have went and got it for you.
Yeah.
And they all turn to Squints and go, oh, man, because he's the one who said he's too evil. He's too evil.
So
as a kid,
that's so good.
That murdered me.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, you would jump fences to get stuff.
The whole movie would have been avoided in that sense.
But when you're a kid, you would jump fences to get stuff. And my mom would always be like, just knock on the front door and ask for your thing. They'll get it for you. And I'd be too shy or too afraid.
Yep.
So it just kills me. It's like, why didn't you knock on my door? I would have got it for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they go inside. Yeah.
And Myrtle is revealed to be a former player of Babe Ruth. He was actually playing in the majors and actually...
he was in the Negro League.
Yeah, he was in the Negro League, and he was also advancing to a point that he could have gone wide with it, but he got hit by a high fly and actually made him start going blind.
Yeah, because when he says that ball was actually signed by Babe Ruth, he goes, George signed this?
Yeah, George signed this?
Yeah, and he's very amused. He's like, oh, yeah, he was a great player, almost as good as I was.
Yeah, and the kids are just completely blown away, and that's when, he's like, you were going to be in trouble for this ball, weren't you? And he's like, yeah, it's my stepdad. He's like, oh, you're not gonna be in trouble. You're dead where you stand.
Yeah, I love that. You're dead where you stand.
So that's when he's like, I can't give you this ball back, but how about I give you this one instead? And it turns out to be a 1927 ball or 1927 Yankees signed ball of Murderers Row.
The entire Yankees. And he says, he's like, sir, that ball is really signed by Babe Ruth. He's like, so is this one. And the rest of the 1927 Yankees.
Yeah.
And which is epic. And one of the reasons this scene really touched me as a kid. So at first he says, I'll trade you.
Yeah.
But then he's like, well, that ball has a lot of sentimental value. He's like, okay, how about this? You kids come by once a week, talk baseball with me, and we'll call it even. And the reason that moved me, I don't know if I've talked about this on the show or not, but I was talking about this the other day, just when I was working in my yard.
Yeah.
Because I bought this house and I lived in this house when I was 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And there were little old ladies everywhere. There were almost no families at that point.
Yeah.
And the reason I always really appreciated that scene was because I used to mow all of these little ladies' lawns.
Yeah.
And my mom once told me, she was like, you're not a very good lawn mower. Like, you miss spots, you rush, you don't do a good job on the fencing. And I was like, oh, and my mom was like, oh, they'll hire you forever because you'll sit and talk with them.
Yeah.
You know, because they're lonely. They're bored. You know, a lot of them, their husbands are gone.
Yeah.
Their kids and their grandkids are off doing other things. And I literally, like, I could tell you, to the front of me, that was Ruby. I used to mow for Ruby. I used to mow for Doris right over there. I used to mow for Betty and I can't remember the other lady who lived there. I used to mow for Agatha, who lived 3 houses down. I mean, I'm serious. I remember mowing for them and then sitting in their living rooms drinking a Coke.
Yeah.
And just talking.
Hell yeah.
When I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And that's one of the reasons that I think connected with me very much as I got older when we watched the movie, is like the way you'd be like, just come over and talk baseball with me. And also, I miss that. I feel like we don't have anymore that world where you could just knock on a neighbor's door and start talking to them.
Yeah.
But when I was a little boy, I used to do that.
Yeah.
Which was probably really dangerous. But I lived in a very safe neighborhood at that point. Once we got out of the hood, we were good.
Yeah.
But I would literally, I would go to my next door neighbor Ruby's and I would knock on the door if I was bored. And she'd have me in and she'd give me a soda and we'd talk or whatever. I don't know. That's something that for me personally, it just really connected with me, that he was just like, just come and talk baseball with me.
It's a really sweet scene. So the movie wraps up now as Bill accepts the ball. He's not thrilled to the fact that Smalls lost his Babe Ruth, but he's happy with the ball.
Or that it's all ripped up and slobbery.
Yeah, and also that he says that he grounded him only for a week instead of a year because of the ball for a gift and everything.
Yeah.
So that's when we also see them playing catch in the backyard. So we see Bill and Smalls playing, and he's clearly improving. He actually, Bill comments that you hurt my hand on that one.
Yeah,
so Smalls is improving.
Put a little heat on it.
Yeah. And that's when we see the kids also back at the Sandlot, now with Hercules, which is the Beast's real name, who's actually sporting a jersey for the kids that says Hercules on it.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Super
He
cute.
became like their mascot.
Yeah, became their mascot, and that's when we get the voiceover stating that as the years passed, they eventually started to go their separate ways. Yaya enlisted in the army and later developed bungee jumping. Bertram disappeared into counterculture movement, aka the 60s.
Yeah, they say he got really into the 60s and no one ever heard from him again.
Yeah. Timmy and Tommy became wealthy upon investing into mini malls. Squints marries Wendy, and they ended up having 9 kids with her.
I like how that's a kid's way of saying they banged a lot.
Yeah. And the two run a local drugstore. Ham became a professional wrestler. You may know him as the Great Hambino. Danoons ended up playing a AAA baseball, but later owns a business and coaches his son's Little League team, the Heaters. And Benny earns a nickname, the Jet, after word spreads about the encounter he had with the Beast. So Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
And a name that stuck with him the rest of his life.
The rest of his life, indeed, because now we see Benny is playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers as he steals home in a game that Smalls is a sports commentator on. And we see Benny throws Smalls a thumbs up and a sign that they did as they were kids. And now we also see that Smalls' office is decorated with both the Murderer's Row ball, the Babe Ruth ball, the fake ball, and there was a 4th one, too.
I didn't see a 4th one.
You didn't see a 4th one?
But the 3rd one is the Babe Ruth ball that Benny faked.
Yes.
And I love that because that would be special. That would be something to keep. And that was the thing that I noticed for the first time watching it.
Yep.
And I literally... Dave was just busy.
I was
distracted.
Caught in the moment writing down notes.
And sometimes, when you're
answer
distracted,
before
you'll say yes, yeah. But I just said, I was like, oh my God, that's the one Benny signed. And you were like, yeah. And then when the movie was over, as I was pulling the screen up, you were like, did you notice that one of those was Benny's? And I thought you were teasing
Trolling me.
Yeah, so I looked at you, I was like, I said that a couple of minutes ago. You're like, what?
And I was befuddled. I was like, no, I didn't.
But it's a wonderful moment.
Yeah.
And I want to mention that as a kid who had a stepdad, I think that the part where he learned to realize that he should trust his stepdad and his stepdad's there for him is just a really beautiful little sentiment too, especially when you think about what the 90s was like. For a lot of kids were the product of divorce and stuff like that. I just thought that was also a really nice thing that, at first his stepdad's a monolith, and by the end you realize his stepdad's just
not that bad.
He's trying his best to be there for him.
Yeah. So we end with a picture of the Sandlot crew, and that is 1993's The Sandlot.
A fucking classic.
A absolute masterpiece, in my opinion. So would you like to know some fun things about the movie?
I mean, everything about this movie is fun.
What do you think the budget was?
I feel like it's surprisingly low.
Yes. Single digit. I'll give you that hint.
Oh. 9.
7 million.
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm not, but I am.
Yeah. So the budget's $7 million on it. Opening weekend is April 7th of 1993, where it brings in $4,918,000.
That's not terrible.
Gross U.S. box office is $32 million. Box office worldwide, $34 million.
Makes sense. It's a baseball movie. It's an American thing. Wow, so it was a hit.
It was a hit.
It was a straight up hit.
So shot in Utah, mainly Salt Lake City area, in 42 days and entirely in order.
I had no idea it was shot in Utah.
Yeah.
Shooting in order, for those who don't understand what that means, when you shoot a film in order, it means that at least as often as you can, you're shooting the film in the order of the script. That can be really helpful when working with children.
Oh, yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if, usually when you hear something shot in order, it means it was mostly shot in order.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just can't literally shoot in the order of the screenplay.
Yeah.
But that makes sense when you're working with that many kids. I mean, the movie's almost all children.
Yeah.
And when you're working with children, by the way, you can only work them a half a day.
I was honestly, on this viewing too, I was surprised that we do not see any of the other parents. Just mom and
because it was
Bill.
A story about the kids.
Yep. So in order to establish the close bond between Smalls and Benny, the director had Tom Guiry and Mike Vitar meet and rehearse together weeks before the rest of the kids showed up to film. It worked so well that the other kids genuinely believed the two actors had been friends for a long time. To this day, Tom Guiry and Mike Vitar remain friends and kept in touch with each other since filming before the movie ended.
That's a sweet story. I like that.
Director David Mickey Evans had one clear instruction for Chauncey Lepardi during the pool scene where he kisses Minnie Peppercorn: keep your tongue in your mouth.
Legend.
Writer and director Evans also is the narrator of the film. Evans also stated that all the child actors had such a wonderful summer working on the film to the point that they considered it the greatest summer of their lives.
I cannot imagine. When I think of what Sandlot gave my childhood to watch it, I can't imagine what it would be like if your childhood was making it.
Yeah, no kidding. Mr. Myrtle shows the boys a photo of himself with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Of course, it is a retouched photo. Jones's head was put on the body of Hall of Famer slugger Jimmy Fox, who was the real player pictured with Ruth and Gehrig. The real photo can be seen in many baseball books. During the filming of the chase scene, temperature rose so high that Guiry became overheated and dizzy that he fainted and fell into the cameraman. In an interview, he stated, "I remember one scene where we had to do a lot of running, and I didn't even know I was going down, but I smashed right into the Steadicam guy. But it was like 105 degrees, and it wasn't that humid, so you don't really feel it right away, but you heat up pretty quick, especially when you're running around 1960s clothes."
Yeah.
After the kids chew tobaccos, they fall ill. The vomit used in the ride scene was made from split pea soup, baked beans, oatmeal, a little water, and some movie gel. They used paint guns to discharge it and actually nailed a few people in real life by accident. The chewing tobacco was made from beef jerky and licorice. Some of the actors also became sick filming the ride scene.
Oh, I believe it because it was a tilt-a-whirl kind of thing.
Many of the young actors snuck into the nearby movie theater to watch Basic Instinct.
I mean, who didn't? Good for them.
The late Kobe Bryant watched this movie every 4th of July with his family.
Oh, geez. Thanks for the... Oof, okay.
My apologies.
Man.
It was a fact. The Vincent drugstore that is seen when Smalls first goes to the Sandlot was also used 5 years earlier in Halloween 4, when Rachel and her friends take Jamie to pick out her costume. It was also used the next year in Halloween 5 when the Men in Black steps off the bus.
It makes sense because not a lot of films at that point were made in Utah.
Yeah. Ham Porter's famous line, "You're killing me, Smalls," is a paraphrase of the famous quote, "They're killing me out here, Whitey," spoken by Denver Broncos coach Lou Sabin. The line was also paraphrased in the previous year in another baseball-themed film, A League of Their Own.
Oh, shit. Okay.
The baseball cap that Smalls wears to his first game with the gang is the same one that the adult wears at the end of the movie, even though Benny told him to burn it.
Yeah, I like that so much. That's a great touch.
A lot of young actors, especially Tom Guiry, looked up to Mike Vitar because he was the oldest, and also they respected how mature and calm he was during filming. Both James Earl Jones and Art LaFleur played in Field of Dreams. In both films, LaFleur played a legendary baseball player who is long since dead but appears to the main character.
Well, that's some very specific typecasting right there.
Despite the story being about a group of 12 to 13-year-old boys, most of the male cast were around the same age, except for Tom Guiry, who was 11, and Mike Vitar was 15.
Okay.
Hercules the dog was played by two dogs. The other dog was actually a puppet in several scenes and flashback sequences. Two men were inside the giant Hercules puppet to operate it.
No wonder who had to be the ass.
Yeah. As the narrator Smalls, as an adult, says that Hercules lived to be 199 in dog years, equals roughly 28 human years.
I'm going to tell you something about mastiffs. You're lucky if you get 9.
I was going to say they don't live very long. PF Flyers were brought back for a limited time after the movie.
I remember hearing about that.
And finally, James Earl Jones also played an enthusiast in Field of Dreams 4 years earlier. However, in real life, he actually hates baseball.
I mean, like, I don't like baseball, but I don't actively hate baseball.
I know. I want to know more of that fact.
I want to know the story behind why he, like, actively hates it.
Yes, me too.
That's a strange one.
It is indeed. So what are your final thoughts on 1993's The Sandlot?
Fucking buy it.
Yeah.
No, The Sandlot is a perfect kids movie. It's a perfect summer movie. It's a perfect movie. It has very few plot holes. It has a lot of fun and loving stuff in it. Anything that you could try to claim it didn't age well is still not, it's still good fun. It's still not hurtful. Like him tricking the girl into kissing him is not that big of a deal. It's a cute scene. And then they have them get married in the story, which is even cuter.
Yeah.
Really, because that whole story is really just about her noticing this kid has confidence. And that's attractive to her.
Absolutely.
So I love this movie so much. I think that if you are the kind of person who will buy a movie, this is a movie you should own. Absolutely.
I could not agree more. It's a buy it for me as well. As Enrique said, it's a perfect movie, not just a perfect kids movie. It's just a perfect movie. It's a perfect summer movie. It has all the flares of any kids movie, family film that you would go for. But on top of that, what I really like about The Sandlot is it doesn't have really any sad moments, because like Angels in the Outfield, for example, has a lot of sad moments.
Oh, well, sure. I mean, there are a few. I mean, initially Smalls seems like he's really alone.
Yeah.
And that stuff is a bit sad.
It's a bit sad, but for the most part, it's just a fun movie. It really doesn't, I mean, the runtime flies by. It's not boring at all, and you just have a lot of great fun with these characters and just this world that you get to live in with these guys.
Oh, it's like getting to relive a childhood that you never had at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So that is The Sandlot 1993. We always like to end the show with a couple recommendations. I have 2 this week. First one being Field of Dreams from 1989. Inspired by a voice he can't ignore to pursue a dream, Ray Kinsella begins a quest to turn his ordinary cornfield into a baseball field. Love Field of Dreams. Cannot recommend that one enough. And then, surprise, surprise, Angels in the Outfield, 1994. When a boy prays for the chance to have a family, if the California Angels win the pennant, the Angels are assigned to make that possible. It's a super cute movie if you haven't seen it. Currently available, I think, on Disney Plus as well, too.
It's been a long time since I've watched Angels in the Outfield. I always did enjoy it.
It's a good movie.
It's a cute one.
It's got a lot of stars in it, too. Like Tony Danza's in it, Matthew McConaughey's in it. Danny Glover, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh,
it's got a hell of a cast.
And for me, my recommendation is Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year.
That was one I really loved when I was a kid. The humor still holds up. It's not as good. I don't think any of these. Field of Dreams is a whole other animal. Yeah. But Sandlot is definitely far and away the most accessible and emotionally intelligent kids movie about baseball. But I just always liked Rookie of the Year.
It's got a lot of fun stuff.
And it was another movie that made me want to try to play baseball a little bit, which is saying a lot.
And Busey plays sane.
He does, and he's good in it. He's got a mustache.
I mean, I think, honestly, Daniel Stern's more crazy in that movie than Busey is.
You might be right.
I think I might be.
Now I'm worried. But yeah, so Rookie of the Year, that's my thought.
So would you like to know what we're talking about next week, by the way?
Do I?
Oh, well, we said earlier in this series that we made an amendment, and that's because this movie became available on Prime. We are talking about a deep cut into early 2000s horror from Lionsgate, Monster Man from 2003.
A film I discovered on Showtime in the middle of the night when I was a teenager. And we were going to do a different movie.
Point Break.
But, I don't have as big of an emotional connection to Point Break as you do.
Yes.
So I wasn't married to it. I was willing, but I wasn't like married to it. But when we discovered Monster Man had a full HD
transfer,
because if you're not a big movie nerd, you may not understand, but getting to watch a movie for the first time in high definition, it's like getting to see it in the theater, especially at my place, because I got the big projector screen and everything. When we saw that, I was like, man, it's a summer road trip movie. We both love it. It's extremely underrated. And right now, anybody could pretty much watch it. It's on Amazon Prime, so you can rent it or see it for quote unquote free. with your membership or whatever. So Monster Man, super fun, super underrated, ultra violent, ultra ridiculous horror slasher monster gross out fest.
It is going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
So that's what we have going on next week for you here on Do You Even Movie.
Oh, yes.
So any other final thoughts for you?
Well, I have an email.
Oh,
it's not for the show. I just wanted to read it real quick. Give me a second.
DoorDash is now ready.
God, I wish. No, we got one from my buddy Tyler.
Oh,
I believe that's
okay.
Yeah, it's Tyler. He has a screen name on it.
Oh, I got you.
And it's just the subject is summer movie.
Okay.
It says, fellas, I have the perfect summer movie for you guys to talk about. As I write this on the 4th of July, drunk and in need of a bathroom.
Fair enough.
Meatballs, starring Bill Murray and directed by Ivan Reitman. And some writing by Harold Ramis. Great movie, 10 out of 10. Happy 4th of July. Be sure to give your thanks to our saviors, Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum, for saving us from the alien invasion in the 90s.
Absolutely.
Have a good weekend, my lads.
I'm not opposed to Meatballs. I would absolutely need to revisit it, though. It's been a while. It's one that I caught on TV a lot. I don't know if I've actually seen it uncut. I know it's in my Vudu, though.
I mean, I that's another one that like was a little past my sweet spot.
Yeah.
But I would be down to look into it.
Yeah, we absolutely look into it. That's definitely a possibility on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys want to email us, you can email us at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com or go to doyouevenmovie.com and send us an email there. You can find us on social media, Instagram. You can find us on Facebook by punching in Do You Even Movie Podcast.
We are out there.
Oh, yes, I guess.
But not on TikTok ever again.
Ever again. Twitter as well.
Yep.
Have you been updating the Twitter or did you stop again?
I posted recently, I think. I think I might have posted today.
He hasn't.
Probably not. I think I
I
posted today though. I know I've been posting in blocks. Like I've been posting episode in blocks.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, one job.
I don't like X. We've been over this, but yes, I know.
It doesn't matter.
I know.
But we're going to get out of here in just a second. But I do want to say thank you guys so much for checking out the show.
Yes.
If you enjoy what you're hearing or seeing, make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcasting app or on YouTube. And also, if you're on a podcast app like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a 5-star rating. It makes a big difference. It tells people that this is a good show that they might want to listen to learn about movies.
Yes.
And if you're listening to us and watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. Leave a comment on the actual YouTube page. If you leave a comment, it increases engagement and it might help. Also like it, share it if you can.
And we will typically respond to your comments as well.
At least I will. Dave is a little bit of a snob.
I do too.
I try to make sure Dave knows. So, well, we'll see you guys next Tuesday on Do You Even Movie. Until then, stay cool because it's hot out there.
You're killing me, Smalls.